Good evening. I clicked on just a few minutes early and stuff, so we're just going to hang out. And I'm going to check my microphone and the video, make sure it all works. And if there's any glitches or something, please let me know, and I'll get them straightened out. But we're going to give folks just a couple minutes to kind of get caught up and realize there's a live stream. But good evening. Thanks for stopping in. So maybe just like 2 or 3 minutes, something like that, and then we'll get into it. Tonight's stream is, I have a lot of ground I think I want to cover, and I'm actually kind of excited to do this live stream. Since I've started doing the live stream thing, I've been trying to, I just keep a tablet close to the computer, and I just kind of through the week, I'll take some notes down, some ideas that I have to talk about for the live. And so this week I had some good ideas, I think. That being said, I'm not sure if I'll get through this in 1 hour, but I don't know, maybe. We'll see as we get into it. I certainly don't want to just crush through it and, bury good information behind a clock. If it's a good live stream, if good information is flowing, then we'll just we'll keep on trucking with it. But welcome to the live stream. We'll just give it a minute or so. And then we'll fire it right up. We'll get right into it. I guess while it is still, folks are figuring out that we are live, we can probably just kind of jump into, well, let me give it just another minute. We're still a few minutes early here. Before I do any kind of announcements and talking and such. I don't want to lose anybody. So if you're catching this, thank you for stopping in for the live stream. My name's Randall. I have a small fishing charter that I run at my local lake at Lewistown. And most of you, if you know me, you probably have either fished with me or you've watched a couple of my videos. Thank you for that continued support. The channel's doing really good. And I'm getting a lot of text messages and phone calls about the lake. And of course, I'm able to run a little fishing business out of it too. So it's been good, and I thank you for all that support. But these live streams were simply because it was one of the goals of the business to be able to give back to the community. That is to make fishermen successful on the at Lewistown Lake and other bodies of water. Even if you're not on the charter with me, that I can help you out, maybe help you be a little bit more successful when you go. So, but thank you for being here for the live stream. If you are able, go ahead and punch a little message into the chat. Say hello or whatever it is you want to type in there. Tonight's going to be a lot of interaction. So I'm probably going to ask a few questions and hopefully you can give me a little bit of input because we are going to be going over the Lewistown Lake specifically. And it's going to be good if you give me a little feedback because it'll make the stream personal to you. So it's really going to help you out if you get more involved, and I'll explain more as we get into it. But good evening. It's good to see you. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate getting the chat, the messages in the chat flowing. So appreciate it, Rick. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start rolling with a few things. I'm just kind of warm up a little bit. I had earlier, whenever I put you guys aren't friends with me yet on Facebook, do find me there. It's Randall Rydes Fishin Charter, just like it's written right there. But right up here at the top. What I did earlier today is I put a couple things up on the Facebook page that I've got, and it talks about these fishing lures that I've been trying to talk people into getting from Okuma. And I put links here for them. It's the Okuma Cold Water, and there's 2 of them that you can purchase. There's the early model and the recent model, and I linked both of them there. So all you got to do is click on it, and it'll take you to Amazon, and you'll see the reel right there. But right now, it's a pretty good deal on it, and that's kind of what it looks like there. So it's about $130 for that one, and the other one, it looks so similar, guys. I've taken these apart and fixed them up and such. The internal mechanisms of these are so very similar. There's really not too much of a difference between them. It's just some small upgrades they made. You can get parts to replace them and repair them and such, which is something I was going to talk to you guys about later too. I know not everybody's ready to repair reels, so I made that a thing because I fix them all the time. You can send it to me and I'll fix it up for you. But I left those links there, and you guys can follow that. But the big important thing I'm pointing out is, if you're not connected with me yet on Facebook, make sure you do that. I do a lot of announcements through there. And just the other day I did a whole tips and kind of tips for Tuesday and Wednesday. That would be tomorrow and Wednesday coming up. So I did this here over the weekend. So it's just, if you were going to get out this week and fish, you have something to go off of before you go out and just try to start cold, if you will. You'll have some idea of what, just based on my little tips and stuff, what I'm seeing, my suggestions, but you can actually, you'll see those. I'll try to keep those posts coming for you. But ultimately, I'm just telling you, make sure you connect with me on Facebook. I'm going to make sure you guys have some good information coming at you. Marcus, good evening. I'm glad you're here. I'm excited tonight, too. I think I'm going to dig into some stuff that's a little bit more deep than I have on the live streams. And I'm kind of stalling just a little bit, see who wants to join in. But we're going to get into some meat tonight. So it's a very interactive night. You guys are welcome to talk all you want in the message. That's why it's there. So it's nice to see the chat window just rolling with people having a conversation. And I'm going to be asking you guys some questions and for some feedback. And I'm going to be asking you for some guidance whenever I get into this section that I'm going to get into. It's going to be very personal to you if you get involved. So if you give me some input and some direction, I'm going to try to build on that and try to open up and give you some information on exactly what you're doing and what you're fishing at Lewistown Lake. All right. So I guess the first thing I should do, I think it would make sense if I go to my page here. Let me share my screen with you. If I go into YouTube, helps if I hit the screen, huh? If I go into YouTube, I want you guys to track what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now. If you guys go to my site, so if you go to my channel and you bring up one of the videos, like here's my latest. This is that dock update video that I just did. We don't need to watch it right now. You guys can check it out after. But if you go into the what information underneath here, you'll see that all the links down here, all these affiliate links, these are all filled out right now. So I'm pointing that out because I just updated them today. So there was a couple of them that they've discontinued, things like that. So right here, like this one, if it's rods, you click on it, it'll take you over to Amazon, and this is the one that I'm recommending people get, and it's $65 right now. And then the other one was the reel, and I updated that one as well. I'm pointing this out to you because it's that time of year when we kind of just put our gear together and get ready for the spring. And I know a lot of you guys are looking for somewhere to start. This is the simplest option I can think of. If you go down and you just follow those affiliate links, it'll bring you to the channel, or it'll bring you to Amazon, and you can look them up. This rod and reel rig that I'm recommending to you is it ends up coming up, so it's 65 and about 170 and about called $70. We got $240. So that's the rod and reel combo that you end up going out with there, and that's a rod and a reel that'll handle anything at Lewistown Lake. So that's why I'm recommending it, and I know how to repair that reel. It's all I use on the charter, and I can help you guys out with that if you guys want. So it's what I use mostly. That's why I'm recommending you guys do it. But I should point out, you guys have been following the affiliate link, so I appreciate it. And that Okuma reel is actually on sale right now, so it's as cheap as I've seen it. So I don't think it's going to get less expensive, so it'd be a good time if you guys can do it. Now's a good time to go shopping. But I'm going to show you how to use the program, and we're going to do a little bit of research on our favorite place right here at Lake Lewistown. Hey Phil, good evening. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. I feel like we're kind of still warming up, but I think it's okay. We could probably start to get into it. One of the things that I've noticed, I've started doing a consultation trip with some of the people at the lake. So this is different from a normal fishing charter. With the fishing charters, I pick someone up and we go out and I do my best to get on fish and I take them back to the dock. Honestly, there's not a whole lot that you can pack into that because you're so focused on getting fish on hooks. You know, it's the objective of a charter captain, fishing charter captain, is to catch fish, and so I fully focus on that. Not that you won't learn something when you're out there with a charter captain doing that kind of trip, but what's missing is the classroom experience of being on the water, on the boat, learning in real time kind of scenario. That kind of gets washed away because the captain's more focused on catching a fish than he is on teaching the lessons. So this past year, and I did one or two before this, but this past year I started doing what I call consultation trips. And I'm going to make those available on the site. They're not available for booking just yet, but certainly I can book them. If you want to, you can just call me, we'll talk. But the objective has always been to make you successful, even if I'm not present with you, that you can go out and be more successful. It's very important to my business that I help you guys do that. And that's why I want some interaction in the chat. So if you guys have questions, especially when we get into the mapping, I want you guys to interact a little bit so that we can, kind of steer this class tonight toward your personal goals. But with the consultation trips that I was doing, there's like two things that kept coming up. Two major, I don't want to say hurdles or something, but this is what was keeping people from succeeding the most, these two things. And it's so fundamental and simple, but I'm telling you, I've done enough of these trips now, and I'm starting to fish with some other people on the lake, and I'm seeing what they're doing. And of course, there's some offshoots, but let me water it down to just these two things. One, the most important thing you can invest in, and that's knowledge. Investing in yourself. So you can go to YouTube University, and that's just a fancy way of saying YouTube a whole bunch of videos and learn from them, and you can educate yourself before you get out on the water. That's important, and I think there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that just go out, they get on the water, and they just start fishing with whatever they have, and their lack of knowledge ends up making them do a lot of unproductive fishing during the time that they're out there. And usually it's like start to finish. The whole time they're fishing, they're doing very unproductive stuff simply because they don't have the knowledge. They haven't spent the time to actually teach themselves. So I want to encourage you to actually invest in learning, invest in some knowledge for yourself before you get on the water. This is very important. This is a major bottleneck. I see folks come out that they don't understand current or depth or cycles with the fish. They don't know when spawn is, things like that. Real basic things that are going to go a long way whenever you actually get on the water and try to implement some techniques. And techniques, that's another great thing to study. Techniques, learning what kind of rigs to use for what kind of fish you're targeting, and try to not go to the water with the attitude to catch whatever's biting. That is a bad place to start, because what rig are you using at that point? Where are you fishing at that point? If it's just scatterbrain and it just means you don't have any direction at all, it usually means it points toward the fact that you don't have the information yet. So spend a little time, invest in some knowledge for yourself. The second thing is, if you guys are hunters, and I'm an archery guy, right? So I'll use archery analogies here for you. But the business end of all of archery comes down to that little broadhead on the tip of the arrow. And you guys know who these archers are. They go out there, and it's like they don't think anything of the broadhead. Like the broadhead's like an afterthought. They get whatever was on the shelf in front of them at the moment, and they slap it on an arrow, and they go out and they hunt. And this was the business end of all that they're doing. Good evening, Buck. Good to see you. What I'm telling you guys is there's a lot of people that go out onto the lake and they don't have gear. They have an incredible boat, or they have incredible electronics, and they might even have a good fishing reel, but then they put it onto a terrible fishing rod, the wrong kind of line, and their lures have bent hooks, old hooks, rusted hooks, not sharpened hooks. Let's just start there. How about that? We sharpen our hooks. Just like the broadhead of an arrow. Let's make sure that the sharp edge, the business end of our gear, the one that's going to actually contact our quarry, let's make sure that's right. Let's start there. And there's nobody who's not intelligent or able-bodied enough to make sure that the hooks are sharp. That really just comes down to people who are not paying attention to their gear and going out unprepared. And it's strange because I see people in incredible boats with a lot of wonderful gear, stuff that I wish I had on my boat, and I see them just fail constantly. And it usually comes down to those two things. One, they don't take the time to just do a little bit of study and learn the very, very basics. And number two, whenever they do get out there, the business end of their gear, the gear that that's actually presented to the fish, whenever that, I'm talking about what you have in your gear, where that meets the fish, it's just poor. They dump a lot of effort or a lot of money, and they put a lot of money into everything except for the business. It's like everything's upside down. So I want to encourage you guys to focus on getting the right kind of hooks, the right kind of lure, learn how to tie the right rigs, and then learn some technique stuff like how to actually set hooks, when it's appropriate to set them, how long you should wait, things like that. Presentation is a big deal. A little investment in your knowledge, a little bit of investment of where the gear meets the fish. That goes so far, guys. And if you'll spend just a little bit of time doing that, you're going to be light years ahead of most of the other fishermen on the lake. So, what does that mean? I'll tell you what I could do. I don't know if this is too interesting for you guys. I'm going fishing tomorrow. I'm planning to go tomorrow and Wednesday. And so I just brought a couple of my rods in tonight, and I tied up a few rigs. And maybe if it's interesting to you, maybe what I'll do is I'll just show you a couple of my rigs, what I'm tying up here. And I'm struggling a little bit here to get it done. But here we go. So I have a couple spinning rods. I'm taking 5 spinning rods and a bait caster. So yeah, it's a couple extra rods, but there's a reason for that. Tonight I sat here and I tied my rigs up, and it probably took me total for these 4 rods that I tied up tonight. It probably took me an hour and a half to tie 4 rods. Rigs for 4 rods. And that's fine. I don't mind doing that, and they are right. You know, I really took my time with them to make sure they're right. But if I had to do that on the water, that hour and a half worth of effort would have taken me, 2.5 hours to get done. So by having it tied up now, and I have multiple rods that I can just kind of flip between, because I'm not totally sure which rig is just right. So I tied some different types of rigs, similar but different enough that the application may change. So this is the knowledge thing. It's knowing how to tie some rigs. And this one here, I'll show you what I have. It's just a standard spinning rod, but I'm going to show you what the rig is that I actually tied. Is just a real standard. Let me see if I can get the whole thing in the screen here. It's just a Lindy rig. You see if there's a sliding weight and a bead down to a swivel. And then if you follow it back here, you see I got a little jig head. Now this is a floating jig head, and it glows. So it's a glowing, floating jig head. And that's a small weight. So I'm going to probably be throwing this one in 20 feet of water, something like that. And the idea is that's going to come down, and the weight will go onto the bottom, and this will be floating up just a little bit. and that helps with keeping you out of the tangles and stuff. And you can hop over debris, but your bait is going to be real close to the bottom. It's less than a foot, so it's probably only a couple inches off the bottom. This is what most people would call a walleye targeting rig. But certainly anything that hugs the bottom would be good, whether that's perch or crappie or walleye or Lakers, whatever it is. I'm going to get some smaller minnows tomorrow. I'm hopefully not going to have to use shiners. I'm trying to get some smaller baits. So that's the smallest, more finessey one that I have, and it's just called a Lindy rig. Super easy to tie, but highly effective. And you guys can kind of imagine how that would walk the bottom. And then this bait would kind of be just above the bottom. And I'm using fluoro because I want this to actually sink. And I'm not sure if that floating head is going to be strong enough to hold the line in the middle up. But that's kind of why I have multiple rods tied. I'm going to try them out and see how they go. You could tie this with monofilament as well. And I don't think that would be a bad idea at all. I think you would actually... you could argue it would be a better idea because it floats. Mono brings it up a little bit, keeps it a little bit off the bottom, a little bit further off the bottom. And then I should show my other Lindy rig next. This is fun. All right. And so, yeah, just another Lindy rig, very similar. The difference is that weight is a little bit heavier. So I got a 1/2 ounce weight on this one. But same idea. Same jig head, same floating jig head. This one I tied because I want to be able to fish deeper water too. So I don't want to be stuck in 20 foot of water and not be able to go in any deeper. So this one would be for my 30 to 40 foot. Again, that's a floating jig head and a sliding weight there, and that's about a 1/2 ounce. So that should get me down there no problem. And again, I'll just tip that with a minnow of some sort. So there I have 2 rods that are rigged very similar. One's just deep, one's shallow. So the simplicity of the rig isn't the end of it. So you want to know how to tie the rig and use good knots and such, but ultimately being able to do some dynamic with it. So be thinking about what you actually want to accomplish when you're out there. I wanted to be able to fish both shallow and at depth, depending on where I'm marking the fish. So I have 2 rods set up. I won't have to tie while I'm on the water. I'll just be able to grab the one that I need for the depth that I'm at. And then I want to show you guys 2 more rigs that I got set up right here. Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. I didn't see your comment there. You said, where are you getting your bait this time of year? Saxton Outdoor Supply is stocked with the smaller stuff. So most of us know where Saxton Outdoor Supply is. But that's it. Saxton Outdoor Supply has fatheads and shiners right now. I think they actually have large and small shiners too. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be over there tomorrow morning, and I'll just get, I don't know, I'll probably get 2 dozen, something like that. They're so inexpensive, you know. Maybe I'll get 3 dozen. I don't know. I'll tell you what, you don't have to use minnows with this Lindy rig. You could certainly just put a bit of nightcrawler on it. So it doesn't have to be a minnow. As a matter of fact, I might, now that I'm talking about it, I might actually get a little tub of worms as well. It doesn't have to be a big worm. These are smaller, more finessey, and keep in mind too, the smaller the bait is, the better that floating jig head will work. It'll help hold the bait up. So what's the next one I want to show you? I guess it doesn't matter. What's this one? This is funny. I'm trying not to stand up because I'm lazy. But this one, you guys will all recognize this. It's just a drop shot rig. I have a small modification on it, but ultimately it's just a drop shot. But I'll show you what I mean by the modification. I tell you what, there's a couple rigs that I just constantly have on my boat. whether I'm chartering or I'm fishing for myself or with, just some pals and stuff, there's a couple rigs that, rest assured, there's always going to be one or two that have, one or two of these rigs, that's one or two of my rods that's going to have these rigs tied up on them. And this is a classic right here. Oh boy. Let's see if I can show you. This is kind of a tall rig. I would just be downlining this, and all I mean by that is I would just be dropping this right off the side of the boat. This is not a casting rig. So this is what would be called a high-low rig, but I do it with a drop shot down here. So I got a weight at the bottom, and there's a hook here, and a hook here. And I got about a foot and a half even, about 18 inches in between the weight and each one of those hooks. So you can see I'm kind of stretching out here just so you guys can see. A little angle. Weight back here with my fingertip. And is that front hook showing up? Yeah, there they are. So I got the weight back here where my fingertip is bouncing, and I have those two hooks hanging out there in front. This rig is going to be used for your perch, white and yellow, crappie. So if I find some trees over there, and I think they're right about 30 or 40 feet deep, I am going to spend a few minutes and just see what's hanging up in the trees. And so this is a drop shot rig. So what that means is I'll be able to send this one down. I'll just put it in a rod holder, and I'll drop it down to the depth where I think the fish are, and then I'll get one of the other rods and I'll actually cast the bank, or I'll just swim, cast it out and swim it back. That's what I'd use the other ones for. Or the final rod I have tied up here, I'll show you. I might even just at the same time, if I do a drop shot, I might even pick this one up. And this one's kind of similar. This one's kind of a hybrid. You guys can see already I got an inline bobber on it, and I have a bobber stop. And there's a knot you can learn, so you don't have to buy bobber stops, but I just use a little heavier line and I tie it. That's the bobber stop there. Swivel to stop it, and you can adjust how deep this goes. You guys probably understand how these bobber stops work, but I can move that so that whenever this goes down in the water, it goes deeper, or I can move this knot that I have tied. I can move it down so that the bobber doesn't, the bait doesn't go down as deep, so it stops it wherever I want it to stop. So when I cast this out, it'll drop to 5 feet, or it'll drop to 15 feet, depending on how I move the bobber stop up and down. And then underneath, there's my swivel, and then as I follow it down, just like the high-low rig you saw on the other one, I have a high rig there, and instead of a drop shot bottom, I have a jig head, and I'll just tip that with a minnow or a worm, or maybe I'll do one with a minnow and one with a worm, and I'll find that depth in the top of the trees, or I'll cast this out away from the boat, and then the other one I'll just downline right at the boat, and then I'll take a third rod and just cast the banks with it. The point is here, with a little bit of knowledge, you can effectively go out by yourself. You can fish 1, 2, or 3 rods, and you could fish more than that if we didn't live in communist Pennsylvania. Let my attitude and my opinion be known. You can do, you can do a lot of rods. Is what I'm saying. Is you can be very effective. If it was you and your buddy, and you could go out and put 2 rods out, say, each of you have a downline, each of you have a slip bobber rig, and then you're both casting as well, you can be very successful. Now, you can have a lot of action. But those 2 big things you always got to come back to is you got to spend a little time just teaching yourself. Get some information in your brain so you can tie these rigs, good knots, sharp hooks, the basics. But if you can go out on the water with those simple things in mind, you have some good rigs. And then number 2, put the money where it actually matters, guys. Buy good hooks. Buy good hooks. Replace old hooks. Don't go out and cut yourself short, or don't be losing fish because you didn't feel like changing the line this year. You know, the inexpensive things that we can all just take care of. Let's take care of them. If you do that, I'm telling you guys, I've ridden with so many folks. These consultation trips that I've been doing, they're not just about the rigs and the fishing line either. What I usually talk to them about is their electronics. I help them get that stuff set up. You know, even putting out their spread. So a lot of guys can't run more than 2 rods or maybe 3 rods without being worried about tangles and stuff. So I just spent a little time with them figuring out their boat, their electronics, and their gear. And I spent enough time with them that we can get a nice spread out, and then they can duplicate that when they go out there on their own. That's the idea of the consultation trip. And I don't have that for sale on the website yet, but you can talk to me if you want to do that. Good evening. I'm seeing a lot of new faces pop up there, man. I really appreciate that. I need to get a big tub of waxworms. Waxworms. You going after crappie then? Yeah. Well, tomorrow I want to go solo tomorrow. I don't want anybody in the boat, but maybe Bradley, if you're free. I'm going to go out tomorrow and Wednesday. If you guys, if you would want to join me, you're welcome. Could always use another good brain on the boat. Get your big tub of waxworms, and we'll see if we can feed some fish. Hey, buddy, going to Sayers tomorrow in the boat. I'm going to catch lots of bass. All right. Wait, is that Nick? Nick, is that you, Wild Thing? Foster Sayers keeps giving, guys. It's a great lake. I know it's a little bit further north than most people are used to traveling. Look, it's worth the pilgrimage. I promise. Hey, Nick, what's up, man? I'm glad to see you on the live stream, dude. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling well, you know what I mean? But I'm glad to see you chiming in here. It's awesome to see you. Okay, awesome. So I feel like I covered rigs a little bit. So those are a couple that you can look at. You can work through them. That was the Lindy rig, and that was the drop shot. And then I kind of alluded to the high-low rig. And if you learn how to tie those 3 rigs, you can do some intermatching and try to do some hybrid presentations. But just learn a little bit. Just be thinking about those things. These are simple rigs, but if you spend any time in the water, you can probably see what I'm about to do tomorrow. Is I'm locked and loaded, guys. I spent today getting my boat all rigged up, batteries topped off, gear on the boat, tying rigs and stuff. I'm locked and loaded. We're going to go out and we're going to do really well. I'm going to fish tomorrow. I'm going to fish Wednesday. Hopefully you guys are going to be able to get out as well. I know a lot of people have work through the week, but it's all good. It's all good. Tomorrow I'm going to be out there. Hopefully we cross paths. And if we don't, that's all right. That's all right. All right. So I want to jump into this mapping bit now that we got some folks here on the website. I want to share this with you. We're going to do, we're going to look at the lake, and specifically we're going to look at some hot spots, if you will. And I'm certain, with a little bit of luck, I'm certain that I'm going to hurt someone's feelings tonight, because I might be talking about your favorite fishing haunt. And that's not a personal attack. The reason that these spots work well on Lewistown Lake is simply because there's fish there. Now, there's a lot of ways to predict where the fish are going to be, and I'm going to talk a little bit with you about that specifically tonight. So this is where I need your interaction. What I want you to do is in the comments, if there's an area you would like to look at, I want you to just say something in the comments. The mapping program we're working with tonight is linked down below this video. So you can actually open this up and bookmark it in your bookmarks so you have it forever. There's no cost to it or anything. And what we're going to do is we're going to look around Lewistown Lake. We're going to zoom in and out. It's got the contours in there, and we can do some predicting. And hopefully there's, you guys get a lot of information out of this tonight. Now, I want to start that off in the best of way by saying I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. So if I pull my words a little bit, or if we move away from a certain spot, it's mostly because I'm a charter captain, and I want to make sure that I I honor the other charter captains. I know they have some spots they like to fish. Honestly, guys, I stay away from them. They are good spots, and those captains use them. I just don't fish them. I'll go find my own. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Go out and find your own hotbeds of fishing action. And tonight we're going to work with that a little bit. So if you want to have a part of this, if you want to learn the section of the lake that you like to fish, I need you to tell me whereabouts that is. You can give me a mile marker. You can say which dock you use. You don't have to say specifically right here on this point or in this corner and this cut and this drop off, nothing like that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that area up and I'm going to talk about some of the areas throughout there. So it's going to be kind of general. I'm not going to try and step on anybody's toes too much because I know that's a sensitive thing. But if you want to learn about your area, now's the time, guys. Say it in the comments. I have a few spots picked out already. I'll keep it rolling, but I would like it if it was specific to who's here tonight. And while you guys are thinking that and you're putting them up and such, I am looking for forward-facing sonar right now, and I would prefer to buy that from the Lewistown community before I go buy it from, a big box company or, an outside party. So if somebody has a forward-facing sonar unit, it doesn't have to be flashy or fancy, doesn't have to be the latest and greatest, nothing like that. I have some great ideas for the charter, and I think it'd be a lot of fun for my clients, especially the kids. So if you have one, an older unit or a unit that you're just willing to, part with, just shoot me a message, give me a call, let me know what you're thinking. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. All right. So who has a spot? And if you don't have a spot, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, it's all cool. You can just hang out and we'll talk about other people's places. Busted Knuckle. Long time no see. Remind me who you are. I forget your, I know the handle. Your handle's familiar. I'm trying to remember who you are, though. Yeah, well, it's winter up here. What do you want me to do? I got a Honda, though. I might run that thing down to Florida. Really found them Lakers last week. All right. Yeah, you did. I saw a picture. You caught your first Laker. Congratulations, man. All right, so Phil's saying he likes above the resort towards Weavers. The loonies don't tend to go that far in the summer. Okay, the loonies. Who are the loonies? What are you talking about? The loons? The birds? I love it. I love it. All right, well, let's start. Spring fling. Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Busted Knuckle. Man, it gets to be a blur, doesn't it? Yeah, let's talk some more. Let's talk some more. I think you have my number? I want you to give me a call or shoot me a message. I think I'm going to be back down at Eureka Springs here this year. I'm making plans to go down. My buddy Bill with Witchcraft. He's I've been talking to him. He's planning on going down. I think he and Ray are going to go. So, anyways, maybe we'll come back down around there. Hopefully you make it back around too. All right, cool. Anyways, that's side topic. That is motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen. That is not fishing. I'm going to pull back in and stay with fishing now for you. But let's start. Phil talked about above the resort. That would be upstream from the resort. So this is all linked down below. This map, you guys can bring it up. It's an interactive map, and you can grab it, and you can scroll it. You can drag it around and such. So here's Shy Beaver. Here's the resort. So the area that we're talking about is actually this section right through here. So the area above the resort. That is upstream from the resort. So I guess we could talk about this time of year. I think it'd be all right to talk about this time of year. If I was going to fish this area, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be fishing tomorrow. Well, I'm probably going to stay on the northern side, probably downstream from, I'm thinking actually about coming right over here. I'll talk about it a little bit, but I think I'm actually going to be over or on the other side of the Entrecon Bridge. That's the Entrecon Bridge right there. So let's go down here. If I was going here tomorrow and Wednesday to fish, what I would say, this thing keeps popping up, but I can't get rid of it. Well, I do know how to get rid of it, but it's a thing. I think what I would suggest is, it's really simple. when I think of this time of year, you're talking about winter patterns on fish. Generally speaking, with fish, what you want to think, the winter pattern is a variation of the summer pattern. So think of it like that. Fish don't go, most fish, especially freshwater fish, don't travel that far. Relatively speaking, they're going to be held in the same area, but they're going to change up a little bit. A fish wants to be comfortable, and it still wants to be able to eat if it wants to, so it can't go too far from what it knows. It's the old story of, like, if you release an animal. Let's say you trap a bear, here at Lewistown Lake, and then you take it all the way upstate New York and you release it. The survival rate of those bears that are being released are actually pretty low. Reason being is they don't know where the resources are, so they got to kind of learn everything all over. Bears may not be the best example because they have a pretty good relocation thing, but fish tend to stay with what they know and they understand. So this is what I'm suggesting you do. When you get into these areas and you're looking for, let's talk walleye, because who doesn't love to talk walleye? If you were going to go look in this area, Shy Beaver is an area that's known for holding walleye all year, but certainly through the summer. But in the winter, things change a little bit. Whenever I come in here and I kind of zoom in on the contours, I like to think of, I don't know what it's actually called, I just call them pinches. I like to think of God's hand coming down and pinching those contour lines in real tight. So along this edge right here, where the lines get real tight, where they got pinched together, these pinched edge, this is all good stuff to look at. Now, for walleye specifically, what I'm going to be looking for is a couple things that agree, if you will, couple influences that would tell me that it's more likely to be holding them there. I would look with walleye, I would look for a tighter pattern with your contour lines, because that indicates a sharp drop off. What that allows the walleye to do is it allows them to sink down to where the water is more comfortable, because it's colder water, so he's trying to get down where it's deeper, it's just a little bit warmer. And it doesn't have to be much warmer, guys. I'm telling you, 1/10 of a degree. It's like the warmest room in your house. The walleye feel that 1/10 of a degree, and that's where they're going to want to go. So they're going to find that happy spot where they're most comfortable, but it's still got to be close to food. And I find, just what I've noticed is that walleye like some kind of fresh water flowing. So if you were to look along this edge where all the pinched marks are, so all these dark contours, it's actually a pretty good thing to look at for walleye species. You get these pinched marks, these dark contour lines like this. That's a great place to start. And then look for other confluences. That would be like a trickling stream that's coming down off the side of the mountain. So on the east side of Lewistown, we got a huge mountain, right? Big mountain, a lot of freshwater streams or springs and such are feeding it. And on the east side, you can get these pinched lines. So let's run down here. Not my favorite through here. But if I go down all the way here, I'm going to look at so I got my pinched lines on the east side of the mountain. So I might start right here along this section, because the depth looks good as well. You get around that 30 to 40 foot. That's probably where the water is going to have a good temperature. And you got to go look. You got to study it, and you can actually go out and it's crazy to even just suggest that you go out and you actually scan and look. But that's what I'm suggesting. When you get into this map, understand what you're doing is you're trying to narrow your vision down. That doesn't mean you found fish yet. It's making the big lake small. So what you're doing is you're narrowing your vision down to a certain area. So what we're going to look for is about 30 to 40 feet of water. East side, most likely, because that's probably where there's going to be some trickle streams feeding, and I know walleye like that. We're going to find a place that maybe is close to bait fish, and This area right here looks like I'm checking a couple of those boxes. So I would suggest that if I was going out for walleye tomorrow, I would come right here through this section right here. And I would look for a feeder creek or stream. Let's see if there is something maybe. This is super, super sharp. And I'm actually familiar with this section of the river, so I know what I'm looking at here. There's actually hard rock outcroppings here and big boulders underneath the water over here. This is not a bad choice for exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll run down there tomorrow and pull a fish up. Wouldn't that be cool if I ran down there tomorrow with the rigs that I just showed you and the talk that I'm having tonight, and I made a video and I say, hey, look, here's the rock pile, here's the fish. I might just have to run down there tomorrow. That's a long run from where I'm fishing now. I'm not sure if I'm willing to commit to that. Yeah, Bill and Ray Ray are good people, yeah. I slept in their garage when I was down. They fed me. I was just traveling through, but we got to hang out pretty good. It was a pretty good time. I'm going to come right back to that in just a second. I'm checking my comments, make sure I haven't forgotten anybody. If you guys want me to talk about a specific spot on the lake that's interesting to you, let me know. And Nick, I did see you say Snyder's, so I did not miss that. I see it there. Yeah, well, I don't mind them, Phil. I don't mind them. There's all types, and that's part of them. And the truth is, a lot of those folks are my clients, so I'm not hating on them. They're just there to have fun, and they do it how they know how to do it, so no hate. Even the jet skis, as much as they're, we call them water gnats, the charter captains do, and they are a little annoying, but the truth is, it looks kind of fun. But I'm a biker, so maybe that's why it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to this. I got my 36 feet of depth here. And I might actually, I think this whole wall over here on that side is worth looking at. So what I would probably do is I would ride my boat using my side scan. And I would probably run right here along this 30-foot contour line where it turns blue here. And I would just look all to the right. So if I started up on this end, I'm driving this way, I would look to the right and I would just scan. And what I would be looking for visually with my eyes along the bank over here on this east bank coming down, I would look for anywhere that looks like there's a water flow coming in. So a trickle of a stream is all you need. Something that's feeding fresh water into the system. If for some reason it attracts them. There's another thing that I like to look for walleye, and I'm not seeing it here. So I'm going to see if I can find it elsewhere, and then I'll better explain. All right, this is on the west side. So here we are. We got this pinch point right in through here, right? I have you guys can't see it, but on my screen there's a ladybug. Anyways, so here on the, we call this the west side. I got the right depths. I like that. 38, 40 feet. We got pinch point right here. I like that. That looks really good. This point right here is very interesting to me. This is very interesting to me. If there's a trickle of a stream, something that's being fed in here, I'm not expecting to find them right on the cut, right in that cut right there. I'm not expecting to find them like where the stream would be flowing down through cutting. That's not where I would expect to see them. Where I would expect to see them is off to either side. Typically, they're not right in the flow. They're off to the side hunting it. And usually they'll get down just behind a little drop off, a little rock or a boulder, or this point. This point is going to create a couple eddies. It's going to create some flow things. The water's going to circulate there. And I talked about this in one of my dock updates. It was called the pillow. So let's look at this point right here. And guys, just for note, I have never fished this point. So I'm not giving you my spot. And if I'm giving up anybody's spot, well, it's just because fish are there. That's all. So I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but this would be a good one to go check out. And no guarantees. You got to go see if the fish are there. They do not know they're supposed to be there when you arrive, so you got to go check them out. But I'm just breaking down the map a little bit so you guys can do this on your own. Using this program, you can get a lot of that knowledge that I was talking about. All right, so here, this section of the river, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. The river is coming down in this direction, so this is the flow. So it's starting from the bottom right, and it's flowing this way. When it hits the point, it's going to create on this side and on the downward side as well. But on this side right here, it's going to create what I've heard. I believe people have called it, hopefully I'm not too messed up on this, but I believe it's called the pillow. Doesn't matter. On this front side, what you get, let me blow my screen up here real quick. If you can imagine a boulder right here and water coming into it, when the water hits it, it breaks. And what it does, it stops. That water stops. And then the water behind it hits it and stops. The water behind that hits it and stops. And then it dissipates. It gets less and less extreme the further you get back. But understand that inside there's this low energy area. This area where the water's hitting and just kind of just getting caught. So the rock is taking the blunt of it and is taking that shot and just taking the energy out of the water, and it makes it easy for fish to just hang right there. I used to always fish on the downriver side, what we call the eddy. So when you get that swirl, the water would come down, if you will. The water would be coming down and it would hit the rock. There's your pillow. And then it would go down behind the rock and kind of swirl in behind it. Behind it is super, super low energy, and that the fish do certainly hold there. But what I've found is the fish that are hunting, the ones that are active, they tend to move up into the front because they get first dibs on anything that's coming down, and that's pretty low impact or low energy. So what I would suggest is if you guys go out, let's say tomorrow you guys are out there. I'm not fishing this section of the lake, so you guys can have this one. Here we are. The depth looks pretty good. Here's a big point sticking out really deep all the way down. I'm going to say that this section right here is going to create a low energy flow, and that would be an ideal spot for fish to lay in ambush. So if the water truly is coming this way right here, I would even tell you that the back side of this point, it's not going to have a very good eddy, so it's not going to be very good on the back side. I would think that the water flow on the back side of this, because of the angle of this water flowing, it's going to hit it and just shoot right through it. I don't think the back side of this little point here is going to help. The front side, though, the front side is worth looking at. So I think blind, if I was going out here to fish this, I would probably... the current is going to take my boat. So let's talk boat control just for a minute. I would probably take my boat either to the far inside or to the far outside. So I would probably drive past it and look with my side scan first and see what I'm most interested in. Let's say I mark a walleye right there. Right, I have some marks there that are interesting to me. I would probably spot lock or just hard anchor, just throw a rope with an anchor out, and I would extend the rope until my boat gets back here close enough and it's holding in position, controlled. And then I would go to the back of my boat and I would cast and cast and cast. I would devote at least 30 minutes to casting that point where I believe the fish are. That would be a good way to approach that. Any questions about that? I appreciate it, Josh. Thank you. I got a text message from a gentleman. I'm just saying thanks to him. You bet, Bruce. Happy to help. Do you guys have any questions about anything I just covered? I'm going to go into some more, and I still have to go up to Snyder's. And yeah, we're going to go a little long tonight with tonight's live stream. I think this is important. But I'm going to send you guys with at least two things. One, it's going to be this conversation and this live stream, a way for you guys to kind of pick some places and kind of work a map and start thinking a little bit outside of the box. And number two, you're going to have the mapping link, so you guys can actually take this link and use it personally when you break down the water. And then there's nothing left for you to do but go out and practice good catch, harvest, catch, release practices. And you are an educated gentleman, so you can make those choices. Any questions on that so far? I'm gonna move along. If I haven't blown over anything too quickly, I think we're okay. I think we're doing good. If I'm doing good, hit the thumbs up for me. That lets algorithm stuff that helps. So I appreciate that too. All right, we're gonna let it go with that then. Well, while we're waiting, just for 1 second, in the dock update, you guys can check out the dock update if you have not watched it yet. There was one thing I said in there about the H boat launch, that it might be okay to use because James Creek was okay. I was only thinking about ice. I wasn't thinking about water level. When the water level goes down, H goes down. So right now, H is actually shut. The Army Corps of Engineers actually said you cannot use the H ramp. I think they actually have, I think they might have the gate shut or something there. I'm not sure, but you're not allowed to use the ramp there. So James Creek for everybody. I'm going to James Creek tomorrow. James Creek is a place to go. All right, I'm going to move on. I want to get some more mapping done. So with this one, I think we have this one kind of figured out. That would be a spot to check out. And you can take that same information and you can just zoom out and scroll. That was on the west side, so you might be more hard pressed to find a trickle of a stream. This whole edge right here would be good to look for a trickle of a stream. This is real steep banks here. That's why the pinch lines are so close together. It's because the mountain is right there. It's coming down very steep. That continues into the water as well. The depth isn't ideal along here though, so it's getting down around 50 feet. That's a little deep. What you're going to be looking for is going to be more like 35 to 40 feet. But I'll show you guys something that's really fun. Right here, Shy Beaver. You guys notice the ramp here. Shy Beaver, I didn't get to look at it, but I'm guessing that if there is any ice there, that it's just kind of, it's thin. You might have to break a little ice is what I'm saying, but I don't think it's going to keep you from using that ramp. Whether it does or not, this area right through here, I have one of my old videos that was nighttime bite time, I think is the one, and that's actually taken from right here. I actually anchored right along this edge somewhere, and I managed to catch a striper that night, a bunch of catfish, and to help you recall the video, there were perch just swarming the boat. Perch were insane that night. I could not keep bait on the hook, so I was hooked, or I was baiting for striper. The perch were stripping my hooks because I was using it, everything was oversized. But anyway, so that's where this comes from. But notice the depths. The depths are right on point. We got 35 to 40 feet right through this section right here. That's ideal. That's where the warm water is right now. That's why I'm saying it's ideal. That's the depth that you're going to find a lot of fish holding at because it's comfortable for them. And if you come out here, you see right here along this point, you got some pinch mark right here. So we got this tight pinch. This is tight drop off. Did I even mention why that's important? I don't think I even said so. Here's the thing. When you have, let's say the bank is coming down and then it drops off sharply and then it's just flat down there. What you have, if you can imagine, it kind of looks like that, right? What you have is a scenario where the fish can lay down here where the water temperatures are comfortable, and then all they have to do to get up here to where the bait fish are and to be able to hunt, all they have to do is inflate their air bladder. Very easy for them to do, and they'll just float right up and they'll be able to hunt. And then they can swim in there, they can do all their hunting, and they come back out and think about you living through the winter as a fish. you would be on survival mode. So you would want to expend no energy unless it was for food. Well, we'd want fire. So the point is, they're going to expend as little energy as possible this time of year. So bait, if you can find bait near a sharp drop-off, usually right where that flat where the bait is, if there's a sharp drop-off nearby, that's where you're going to find your predatorial fish. That's everything from catfish to walleye and bass and perch, Lakers in a different section. You will get Lakers here around the resort, but it's far and few between. I have caught exactly one. And I caught it right out in front of the resort too. It's crazy. Not what we were expecting. So that's what's going on. That's why the predatorial fish are hanging in that depth at those sharp drop-offs. And if you can find the bait near all that, that even trumps like having a secondary point or a freshwater flow, anything trickling. But as I'm just looking at this now, this section, let me share it with you. This section here that I was just talking about right here with a sharp drop-off, what I would actually probably do is come up here and look. We got this little cut coming in like that. It usually indicates there's some water flow. So I would look there, here on either side. And again, the water is flowing this way. So it's flowing through James Creek out to the main channel. So I would expect to see the pillow right here on this little point. So if I was guessing, if I'm trying to make a big lake small, I would first start right there. So I would come in, and just like we did before, I would anchor upstream from it, and I would let the boat settle, and I would use my spot lock, or I would let line out until my boat's in a good position that I can just stay there for like 30 minutes, and I could just cast, and I would hit this bank right here with everything that I think would catch if they were there. So if you don't even have electronics enough to look, you can still go out and do this. And I'm telling you, if you follow even half of these recommendations, you are light years ahead of most fishermen out on the lake. I promise. So that's another good spot, just a little bonus there. But let's do, Nick mentioned going up around Snyder's, so I want to run up to Snyder's here for a minute too. Do you guys have any questions? Have I gone over anything too quickly for you? Matthew, good to see you, man. What's my PB striper? You'd be surprised. We've caught some dandies, but it's been my clients, so I'm not claiming theirs. Me personally, fishing trip, I caught two, and one was 17, one was 18 pounds. Yeah, that's me personally. I'm going to flash my camera real quick. I'll be right back. It's just the camera just needs to focus, that's all. But yeah, so my personal best striper, I caught two of them, and it was 17 and 18 pounds. Yeah, go figure, right? So Rick's asking about James Creek. Good. That's where I'm putting in tomorrow. So I definitely want to hit that up. I'm going to come back to James Creek, but before I do James Creek, I want to run up to Snyder's. So let's go up to the other end of the lake. So this mapping program you guys see me using here, it is linked right below this video, and I hope you guys use it. Make the big lake small before you go. Before you ever go, get some information into your head and hone in on some spots you can go. You can always change your mind, but make sure that when you go out there, if you're like me, when I used to just go fishing to catch whatever is biting, that kind of attitude, I would put my boat in the water at the dock and I would throw lines out the back and start trolling out the main channel. I had no idea what I was doing because I hadn't done any kind of research. I was fishing completely blind. Let's not fish blind anymore. Go out with a game plan in mind, but always stay flexible. You can always adjust. But go out with 5 rods rigged for what you know that you're going to target. You'll be much more successful. You'll have much more productive trips. All right. So here we are. We're looking at Snyder's. This is, I'll tell you, for the last year, even the last 2 years, this has been the dock that I go out of. Oh, and I want to point out the 2 stripers that I just talked about. If you look right here, there's a little saddle that's created here around Hans. This is where I caught them from, and I'll show you just where. This is the ramp right here, Snyder's Run access. So you come out, and this is all no wake zone, right? And I come out and I turn right, and you get this big island right in front of you here. And then this saddle, most of us are familiar with this saddle here. Gets a lot of weeds in the summer. It's a really good spot to go for yellow perch, for bass. There's a lot of stuff hanging there. And we were just talking about walleye, guys. This is a summer walleye spot. I think, I personally haven't fished here, but I'm telling you, I know what summer walleye do. I think this whole edge along here, when you get weeds and a sharp drop off like that, that is summertime activity. Access to all the bait, because I catch bait back here for my charters. So this is a great bait spot. Lewistown Lake is an underestimated fishery because it's difficult to fish. Make no mistake, there are hammers, absolute hammers, world-class fish live here. It's a difficult lake to fish, but that doesn't mean they're not here. It just means that you have to be on your game. So be thinking. It'll make you a better fisherman. Make it a lifetime study, and you are going to have success if you stick to just a couple of these tips. Just a couple of them. So, but whenever I was talking about the striper, I caught of the 2 striper. What I was doing. This was my John boat days. I'm deviating from talking about Snyder's for a second. I had my John boat, and I would just drive around this island up here, and I would turn around and come back. You see, this was my pattern. I was running a big horseshoe, and I did this all night long. So I had my John boat, and I had 2 lures out. I had one on the downrigger and one in the rod holder. And the first one I caught was right here on this side of the saddle, and I caught it right at dusk. And I was so excited because it's the first striper I ever caught. I caught it on a jerk bait, on a bass rod, and the reel was never the same. It was screaming. I don't know, if I smelled it, it probably would have been burnt. That reel never worked again after it brought that striper in. It was a fantastic fight, and I was crying happy, you know. But I caught it right there next to the saddle, took it all the way around, and then the next morning at dawn, I caught my second striper on the opposite side of the saddle. So it was about, say 10 hours in between catches. One was right here, and one was right here. So the first one was caught on a jerkbait, and the second one was caught on, do you remember those live target? They still sell them, but the live target, the rubber trout, it's like a 7-inch trout, the big hook in the back of it, little treble underneath it, but it's a rubber live trout bait. That's what I caught it on, the second one. You hit that trout. Matthew, that's a pretty good fish, man. I think it was probably a little better than 10 pounds, probably. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, so let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about Snyder's. One of my favorite places to fish is Snyder's. You guys know that I do a lot of lake trout fishing. So let's talk lake trout for just a minute. This time of year, lake trout are going to be up all through the column. Lake trout are really unique and interesting because they are a cold water fish, so they're cold water friendly. They're actually a char, which means they're going to move a lot more. They're like an ocean fish. They're going to travel a lot, and they prefer cold water. So it's different from other fish species where they don't seek warm water. They are seeking, they're comfortable in a lower temperature of water, where most fish are comfortable around 55 or something like that. Lake trout like it a little bit cooler, like 45. But this time of year, because the water column is cooler, the lake trout just start swimming everywhere. So they come up through the columns. When they're dealing with spawn and such, they act a little bit different. They start getting clustered up. But generally speaking, whenever it's cold, when you got winter patterns for lakers, you can catch them in all depths, which is really exciting if you're a lake trout fisherman. Something that's really popular with lake trout is people like to do what they call ice out lake trout fishing. So they get the boat and such ready, and as soon as the ice is off the water, they go out and they start just casting and trolling for lakers because they're still all up in the column, real easy to get to. It's a great time of year, first month or two of the spring, if you will. After ice melts, if you get out there, you should be able to do really well because the fish are just up there in the column. You'll have a lot of fun doing it. Now, as far as where to target lake trout, here it's Snyder's. I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to scroll out on this map, and I'm going to show you the lake trout territory that I would recommend. All the way down to right about there. So it's hard to show it all, but the point I'm trying to make is there's Snyder's way up in the top right, and here's James Creek way down here in the bottom. Let me just show you. James Creek is way down here in the bottom left. Anywhere along this stretch is going to hold lake trout. Lots and lots of lake trout all the way through here. I tell folks to put in at 7 points. Right here, 7 points. And start fishing. I tell 7 points and start fishing because right here, 7 points. Look at where it is. Falls dead in the middle of all of that goodness. So you guys might have seen my videos where I talked a lot about mile marker 2. I have quite a few catches from there, and there's a reason that I take my clients there. It's because it's easy to fish. It's easy to fish because there's less timber. So the mile marker 2 point, there's a huge flat there. It's a massive area, and the lakers just kind of move through there. I'll show it to you here on the map in just a second. But the point is, clients who aren't real handy with a rod and reel, they can still fish there and they can manage to stay out of the trees. If you just take your time a little bit, the entire area, all the way around 7 points, all the way up through Snyder's, it's all going to hold lakers. I've caught them from back in the coves to out in the big open bay areas to the flats to the points, everything. Lakers, they change kind of where they're going to be at season to season, but ultimately the whole area is just riddled with them. It's an incredible area for lake trout fishing. So if you guys want to come up and try mile marker 2, right here is Snyder's Run. You put in, you pull out here, there's the no-wake buoys, and you just run out here until you get out to this big bay area right here. When you get in this big bay area, you can actually just start looking for lakers. Whether you're trolling for them or if you're going to do a lot. I like to do just do casting for them. I do a lot of jigging for them. You'll see depths of all the way from 170 foot all the way to, of course, the bank. But when you see me jigging with my clients here, typically what you'll see me doing is I'll be jigging this big flat that's right here. This big area. This is mile marker 2 right over here. And typically if I'm out there with my clients, you'll see me jigging out in this general area. And that's just because there's less trees there. Guys, you don't have to jig there. You can jig over here. You can jig back here. Back in, what do we call this cove here? There was a lot of talk about it. It was, what do you call that cove, guys? Oh my gosh, it was like a running joke there a year or two ago. What do they call that joke, that cove there? Come on. Help me out. What's the name of it? I know what it's called. It's called Baker's Hollow. Baker's Hollow. So that's Baker's Hollow, the infamous Baker's Hollow. It's right here. I was out with Brian. You guys remember Brian Breyer's Lures, Brian? He and I were actually fishing Baker's Hollow. We weren't fishing. We were trying to catch bait. It was chilly that night, and I threw on some bait, and when I pulled the net up, I had a lake trout in it. And I, of course, had to dump the laker out of it, and Brian was on the deck, and he was just trying to get this laker up, and he couldn't catch it because they're squirming. And it was a hilarious night, but that happened in Baker's Hollow. So even Brian has a little bit of history there. But yeah, it's the whole area around Snyder's looks really good for lake trout. That being said, what can I talk to you guys about with Lakers here this time of year? What would be fun? Nick, what do you think? You want to look around Snyder's? What are you thinking about? What's on your mind for Snyder's? I could share stories from every nook and cranny here around Snyder's because I've fished it so much. Caught my first beaver there from trapping days. You guys saw the one video I did from Moonbeam Island. That's right here. I actually set up right here on this point and just did some bank fishing. So this is a bank angling location right here. You have to drive this road right here down and hike it over. But that's a good bank angling spot. And I was fishing for striper there, so that's striper potential spot. But Moonbeam Island right there. For some reason it's marked over here. There's no island over there. This is Moonbeam Island. So here's Hans Overlook. Let's talk about that. Super, super steep edge. It drops off just super deep. It just goes from nothing to 170 feet. So it's a cliff. When you look up, that cliff comes down and it just drops. And it's such a hard drop that you would think that that's a great idea. It's like a pinch mark. I've looked over here and I fished there a lot. And yes, it holds some fish. But this is what I would consider one of those places that looks like it could hold fish, but it's essentially a desert. And I don't think it's a good spot to fish. This whole area over here with all the pinched lines, as I was talking about, the close together contour lines, I don't think that's a good spot. The exception to that is these little coves right back here. Not necessarily the coves themselves, but the points that they create coming out. This first one here, you don't see much contour in here. I think this continues on with the same trend. It's a desert. But if you get down to this next cove, you start to see that there's actually the possibility where this is going to hold some fish, some activity. It's not great. I got to be honest. I've looked here a lot. I did catch a laker there just jigging, but ultimately I don't think this is a great spot for your aggressive species, your walleye, your bass, your catfish and such. I don't think it's a great spot. But it has potential because you've got some stuff going on. You got a feeder creek coming in down here. You have a point that wraps around, so you got a low energy side. This though, look at the water flow. It's a lot of things working against it. The water flow is coming from the top left and it's going down this way. So what you end up getting is this sweep of the water right across that point. That is a high flow area, high energy. On the back side of that, you might get an eddy, which is probably why this is still reasonable. It'll hold some bait. I have seen bait back there, but it's a little awkward, and there's usually a lot of debris in there, a lot of log jams. You bass fishing guys can go check that out. But I don't think any of that's a great spot. It's an awkward position with the flow of the lake itself. When you get these edges like that, these north-south facing edges, like this one faces the south, this one faces the north, I have not had much luck. So I don't mark a whole lot of fish whenever I have the north or south facing edges. The opposite of that is when I have a western facing edge, like this edge over here, I have a lot of luck if other conditions are correct. So why don't we look at that? We'll look at this this area here, getting down here kind of close to the dam here. But this edge, like back here along this side, all that pinch point, that's going back to what I started the whole map reading session with you about. Those dark lines are something they should jump out at you. What do you guys think, guys? Do you have any questions for me before I jump into this? I'm going to talk a little bit more about, so I have one more spot I want to hit after this, and I think that will kind of wrap up the stream. But before I get into this spot specifically here at the dam, do you guys have any questions so that I'm thinking of it while I'm explaining this stuff? I'm just going over some of the basics here. If you missed some of the rigs that I showed at the beginning of the video, when the live stream's over, go back and watch them. I'm going to be on the water tomorrow throwing these rigs, and you're hearing how I'm thinking. So I'm going to go out tomorrow, and I'm going to look at these places, and whether I catch fish or not, I'm going to look at these places and see if they're holding fish. Without holding fish, if I'm totally wrong about this stuff, I just have to keep on spot hopping. So I have a couple places picked out in my mind because I did some research ahead of time using this map that's linked below in this video, the one that I'm using for this this live stream. It's linked below in the video. Save that in your bookmarks so that you, the next time you go on the water, you actually use it. You go onto the water with a game plan, something in mind. So that way you're not fishing in the desert. Awesome, Rick. Appreciate it. All right. Everybody take a second and do that for me. I'm going to get right back into talking about this. The pinch lines. The pinch lines. You guys understand why I'm calling them the pinch lines? I said it's like God came down with his fingers and he just pinched them. And he just pinched those contour lines real tight together. So let's look at this edge right over here. We're down by the dam, just to put this into perspective. We've gone from Snyder's across the big bay where I like to jig with my clients because there's not too many trees. It's a good spot to practice jigging. My jig is on my website and it is available for order. I have a bunch made up too. If you guys want one, they're perfect for jigging that deep water. But we pass all that area. We come down here. We're going to blow right past the northern facing and the southern facing edges. I don't think they're very good at the lake. Prove me wrong. Go catch some fish there. But I personally don't spend too much time there unless I have a reason to be. Look, if you're driving by and you see striper starting to blow up over there, forget everything I've said. Go tie on a big honky lure and chuck that thing out there and bring in some striper, and you better send me a picture and say I proved you wrong, and I will cheer for you. So here we are. We're at the pinch point. God's fingers pinched this section and got them all real tight together. There still needs to be something else. Like this is the first thing that kind of caught my eye right here. So we got some depths that are interesting to me. This time of year, I'm looking about 35 to 40 feet of water. Maybe 45 feet of water. So I like that. That depth looks good. Pretty much right where the crosshair are. That crosshair right in the middle. So I like that. That looks good. There's actually some, just because I know the bank here, there's some features. So there's some structure over here that's missing. There's actually a little cove back here somewhere. It's actually probably right. That probably is it, I would guess. But there's a point there that's really interesting. But this edge, if I was going to go over here and fish this, what I would look for is an anomaly. If I get an anomaly, am I saying that right? And there's some water flow over there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check the upstream side of the anomaly. So if there's a point, let's zoom in here. And let's just assume that this has a little point here. Let's say there's a point that's sticking out. Maybe that's what we're actually seeing here. Maybe that's this right here. I think that's what this is supposed to represent. I'm guessing that this map is representing it if the water was real high. So this, generally speaking, the mark that you see here, it's usually out of the water. But on this map, I think the water's high, and so it's underwater. Or something like that. It's like it's not properly represented here. But so I have this point. We have this anomaly. We have this structure here. Think about water flow. It's coming from the bottom and it's going up and it's going to hit that wall right there. It's going to hit that anomaly. It's going to hit that structure. That's going to create low water or a low energy spot on the front side of this. So as the water comes in and it hits it, it's going to break and it's going to pack up, and it's going to be a low energy spot where if a fish, an aggressive fish, a predatorial fish, a muskie and a pike, and yeah, we do have pike here, very rare to catch them, but yeah, your catfish, your bass, your walleye, even your perch, they're going to hold on that pillow side. They're going to hold on that leeward side, the side that's facing into the current. They're going to hold in there because they're the first ones that get dibs on the food that's coming. They may not live there all the time. As a matter of fact, you might find more back here on the back side of it because it's low energy and they're just inactive fish. But the fish that are active, the ones that are actually out trying to eat right now, they're going to be out here hunting. They're going to be on the front side of this. If you're fortunate enough to get over here into a spot like this and you find some good structure where they might be held up around, and you scan and you get a couple marks with your side scan or sonar, and let's say you find some bait, what I'm going to tell you to do is that if you can check off like 3 or 4 things off the list that make this look like a good potential spot, just anchor on them and commit to fishing it for about 30 minutes. So right about here where you see my crosshair, maybe even a little further than that, like out here, I would anchor. Let your boat get into position so that it's not struggling to stay where you stopped it, and just take your time and ease into this. Let out some rope and drift in as close as you need to be able to cast on this effectively. Move your spot lock, just do the jog setting, move it 5 or 10 feet at a time until you get in the right position. Get your rigs ready, get a fresh minnow on, and start casting that shoulder. And commit to about 30 minutes of fishing it. This time of year, you want to slow everything down. It was so subtle. When I did my post on Facebook, I said this. I said it's a winter bite. So downsize and slow down. And the third thing that I said that was kind of subtle, a lot of people might have missed it. That fish is going to bite one time. That's all you get. So it's not like summertime fishing where you're dragging on and be like, oh, I got a bite. And then you sit there and you're waiting. And then he takes it. In the winter, you're going to find that you're going to get one chance. That one bite is what you're going to get. So what that means is when you cast in there and you're committing to this 30 minutes, I want you to be intense. I want you to be in the water with your bait. When you're dragging it, I want you to drag it with intention. I want you to try and map the floor as you're dragging your sinker across a rock. I want you to say, oh, that's a rock. And I want you to drag it across a log and say, oh, that's a log. And when you get snagged on that log, you can say, darn it, Randall told me to do that. The point is, I want you to be very intentional about the way you're fishing here, because you're going to get one chance for that bite and that fish. If you miss it, you missed it. For that fish, anyway. So that's a good spot, too. That's worth checking out. I think, generally speaking, I do like the eastern side of the lake. But I think it's just because there's conditions that kind of happen a lot on the east side. That being said, I mean, this whole flat right here, you see how it's like a real gradual flat? That's a good spot for trolling your higher water feeding fish like bass or striper and such. So on whether it's east or west, what you would look for is contour lines that are not pinched together. So for your fish that would feed up shallow, you find places where they're not pinched. What's this in right here? Oh, okay, yeah, this is back behind the Yoakum Cemetery. There's actually this flat right here. This is actually really good for trolling for, again, you see the gradual lines. They're not as extreme, right? So these would be your high in the column feeding fish. So that's where you would troll for striper, places like that. But look at this right here, though. This is interesting, isn't it? Let's look at this point, and then we're going to go down to, what is it we said we're going to go to? James Creek? I think Rick mentioned we should go down to James Creek and look around. So I'm going to look at that Yoakum's area, that area that's back behind. What is that, mile marker 4 and 5 right there? There's a bay back in there. We're going to look at that. There's some interesting little pinch point. So let's talk about that. It's a secondary point, and it's kind of pinched together. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this live stream. Some of this stuff might be like old hat. You guys understand it, and we're just kind of grazing over it. But I'm going to try and give you more of this in the live streams. And if you guys appreciate that, I need you to let me know. And I'll watch the algorithm as well. But any comments, any interaction you can do, it helps to guide these live streams so that they're more informative and more poignant and more specific for our lake and what you are dealing with on the water right now. So the more you get involved, the better these live streams get. I need that. All right, let's jump in here. Let's look behind Yoakum. So this is right at mile marker 4. Right here's 4, and this is 5. So this is that bay area back there behind it. You guys control through there with some live bait in the spring and summer. Yeah, actually, I think it's a pretty good summer spot actually for striper. I'm talking. But this little tight line portion right here is something that's interesting to me. I think this probably looks interesting to a lot of people that fish up there. Nick has caught all the bass off of this edge and released every single one of them. So they're still there for you to catch. But this point right here juts out pretty gradually, and it draws out toward the main lake. So toward the main channel here. So it kind of drags out toward the main channel. What it creates here, you look at water flow again. Water's coming down this way. It's going to be very swift along this edge. So there's no pillow here. There's nothing slowing the water flow down. But on the back side of this, we had this sharp drop off, and then we have this flat right up here. This area right in here looks very interesting to me. So what would I do? Tomorrow, if I was out here fishing this, what I would do is I would run my boat up here, and I would drive as close as I could get to this. This is 100 feet of water down here, so there's no reason to be down that far out. But what I would probably do is try to drive along 60 or 70 foot along this contour, right about where it drops off. Well, it's unfortunate that the drop off doesn't start till it's like 60 to 80 foot. Do you see that? Okay, so what I'm changing my idea as I'm reading the map with you. I would still do this. I would probably do a couple passes. I think probably what I would do is I would drive out here over the main bit at 100 foot, and I would scan all left. So I would just use my side scan and just look on the left. And I would send it down there, but I'd probably send it out quite a bit and just see if I can read anything down there in the depths. Or I would just use sonar or down scan and just screen, check in the deep area here. Probably Lakers is what I would see down there. And then I would run another pass, and I would probably do this next pass in like 60 foot. And I would look again, just up toward the point. And I would kind of push in like that and look until I see what I want. So what I'm saying is I don't want to push in and spook fish if I don't have to. I don't want to drive over top of them if I don't have to. So I would use side scan, and I would kind of do like 2 or 3 passes and just get closer and closer until I'm off screen. Just get closer and closer to the point until I see some marks of what I assume is probably there. The reason being is this is that drop off area, right? So you got your aggressive fish, your feeding fish down there. So I'm thinking mostly about Lakers because of the depth. And then this flat up there that may be holding some bait or some smaller fish like yellow perch. They like to hang up on these flats. And as the Lakers want to eat, they'll just come up. They'll just inflate their air bladder and come up. And it's easy for them to go in and then go back and drop down. This time of year, that pattern is really used a lot. Now, Lakers are a lot more, they're not as susceptible to the cold water because, as I mentioned, they're a cold water fish. So it's not as big a deal for Lakers. But if I'm in there and I'm looking for something that's other species, and I'm thinking specifically about bass or walleye or muskie. Winter muskie fishing is a big thing, I know. This would be a good spot to check out to see if anything's hanging. What I'm thinking you'll probably see if you were to really scan this area, you'd probably see Lakers through here. You'll see fish marks. That's all you'll know. There'll just be fish marks. They're probably Lakers. And then as you get back into here, where it's more shallow, maybe even like back in where it's really, really calm, you might find that this area back through here starts to hold your bass and your muskie and your walleye. And you can certainly check over on this side, but I don't think this is going to be very good. It's going to be cold water. It's kind of flat. I don't know. Sometimes fish will just be where fish are going to be too. But I think that's what I would recommend for that point, is I would do a couple passes and I would move in closer and closer. Each time you get a little bit more information, you get a little bit more of the picture of what the fish are doing on that edge and that point and that flat, and you kind of put that information together. When you figure out what you want to do, if you decide that you're actually going to fish this spot, what you want to do is whatever you get the air, it's really calm back here. It's not too much current, but it might be just the wind. So if the wind is blowing, we'll say it's blowing this way, it's coming from the west toward the east, so it's a westerly. I would park my boat up into the wind, and I would anchor. And then I would just drift, lift the anchor, and drift, or use my spot lock and just move in until I'm in the perfect position. And then I would commit to 30 minutes of fishing with my 5 rods that I got, with every bit of gear that I got, and try to make something happen there. In the winter, I think something that's really frustrating about fishing in the winter, and the reason I think a lot of people don't get in the water, get on the water, it's not just because it's cold out. It's because the fish act lethargic. They're slow to take a bite. They don't, you don't get that snappy response that you do in the summer or in any time in the spring when everything's kind of like fired up and stuff. It's so fun to experience that. That's not today. It's coming, but it's not today. So it's going to take a little bit more discipline, and just kind of have to pull the reins in and slow down just a little bit. But ultimately, if you'll do a couple of these tips, I think you'll have a lot of success. So I'm going to jump down to, what did I say I was going to do? Around James Creek. So we're going to go down to James Creek next. That'll be our final stop, unless you say so. So if you have a spot, you're like, wait, Randall, don't leave yet. I want to know about Trough Creek, or I want to know about, whatever mile marker you got, some area that you're interested in seeing and hearing me talk a little bit about. Just mention it. That's what these live streams are here to do. They're here to help you out and such. And a lot of what I'm saying is just kind of off the cuff. But if you have specific questions, something really in depth, I encourage you to say so in the chat. And I appreciate it. I'm happy to do it, Brian. I'm happy to. That's why we're here, man. I want you guys to succeed. Lake Lewistown can be brutally difficult to fish. We've all experienced that fishing day, and the idea is to limit how many of those we get and get you the just flatten the learning curve, as they say. All right, so I see your question, Phil, about back behind Snyder's. Yeah, that is no wake. I'll show you on the map. I'll show you on the map where I'm talking about, just so we're talking about the same spot. But I am going to leave Yoakum's. By the way, there at Yoakum's, this is only just interesting to know. If you come back here, you can actually park your boat up against this bank right here, and tie off to a tree, and you can hike in. And right here where this road ends, just like right where you see Yoakum Cemetery, go figure. There's an old cemetery right here. This is really interesting if you do rubbings, or if you just want to do like a little hike with the kids. You know what rubbings are, where you put the paper on it and you rub it with charcoal and you get a print of what the stone said. There are some really ancient tombstones there, and it's just a cool little cemetery. It's one of those cool little artifacts from the old history at Lewistown Lake. So it's worth, if you got the family, take a little hike back there. It's a cool little stop. But right there, Yoakum Cemetery, right there. You can park your boat back here, and it's in, it's back in the Sound, so it's protected from the wind and the wake and stuff. So, but yeah, let's run up here to Snyder's real quick. There is Snyder's right there. I'm gonna steal a drink of water. The no wake buoys cut across right here at the end of this island. And hey, does anybody know the name of this island? And all the time I've been fishing this lake, I don't know the name of it. It's an island. And I don't know it. I've hiked this island. There's copperheads, so be careful. But yeah, that island, I don't know the name of it. But yeah, the no wake buoys, they run across right there at the end of the island, all the way across right here. So if you get a real busy day on the water where the boats are just beating the tar out of you, you can just come back in here. It's a good spot. Or if you're a kayaker and you just want to stay off the big water, that's a good place to go. All right, good deal. Any questions for me before I go to James Creek? We're going to go to James Creek. We're going to make that the last stop. Unless you have a request or specific question, something I can address by using the map, we'll make James Creek our last stop. And thank you guys for sticking with me. I want to remind you the affiliate links that are down below this video. If you're doing any shopping on Amazon, just follow those links and then go do your shopping. I don't care if you buy a can of peanut butter from Amazon. It has nothing to do with fishing. Amazon will still do a small commission for me, and it's not much, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it's a way you can support this channel. A lot of folks are doing that. Thank you. I appreciate it. That being said, there's some great affiliate links for all the products that I use for my charter, up to and including rods and reels and fishing line and a couple lures and stuff. So it's all there. I make my lure that I jig with for Lakers available on my website, randallrydes.com, and that's linked down below as well. I have a couple notes here I want to go over them, but I'm shopping for a forward-facing sonar as well. If anybody has a used one, let me know. I'd like to buy it from the community before I go on Marketplace or, go into a big box store or something like that. If you guys have a forward-facing sonar unit, doesn't have to be flashy or fancy, doesn't have to be new, I am happy to talk to you about it. So shoot me a message. Phone number is on my website, randallrydes.com, or you can just shoot me a message. I'll get a hold of you. Dock update's up, so whenever we're done here, guys go check that out. I've been getting a lot of views on that one. Seems the dock updates are one of the biggest things my channel does. Oh, and check your subs, guys. I'm blown away that my channel's doing all that it's doing. I'm still not monetized. It's still a tiny channel. Most people who are watching my videos and then coming back and rewatching them, most of them aren't subbed. It's like 60% of my viewership, people who watch them all the time, not subbed. If that's you, double check that. I'd like to get up above 1,000 so I can do the monetization for the channel. So thank you. Appreciate it. Everybody that's subbed, thank you. Appreciate you. And let's get back into it here. Well, Brian's asking here if you'll catch the bigger Lakers around Snyder's, back in the coves. And I'm the way I'm reading that is, well, Brian, if I'm reading it correctly, will you catch bigger ones back in the coves, or do you need to stay out in the big bay? All I can tell you is what I've caught and where I end up fishing. Lewistown Lake has an average size of fish because of the maturity of the fishery. So what that means is most of the fish, their Lakers and stuff, they just haven't grown long enough to be as big as they're going to. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to start bringing out 20-pounders. And I still believe that the first 20-pound lake trout that's caught on Lewistown Lake is going to be caught on the lure that I make. It's linked down below. I truly believe it. I think it's going to be the black one with the big, with the tube on it. That's going to be the one that catches the 20-pounder at this lake. The black one with the tube on it doesn't catch as many Lakers, but every time it catches a Laker, it's a banger. So Fish the black one if you want the big ones, and that's just the way it goes. But as far as trolling for Lakers, I'll tell you this. Lakers are cannibals. Small fish eat big fish. Big fish hunt up. Small fish try to get away from the big fish by swimming up, and then they hit the ceiling, which is just where the water meets the air. The smaller fish get stuck in that upper column. They get stuck there because the fish are pushing them up, and they can't go up. They don't fly, so they can't leave the water, not for long. So your smaller fish are going to be up in the column. That is the reason why the average fish caught on Randall Rydes fishing charter, I'm talking about Lakers, when we're out jigging them, it's a larger class of lake trout. We average bigger lake trout because we're going below. So we're not fishing up real shallow. We certainly do some trolling, and you'll get a whole mix of them up there. You'll get some big, some small, but your larger Lakers, they just don't eat spoons, guys. They never see a spoon because they don't have to. Low energy. They're getting fat and old by staying down low, coming up just long enough to eat one of the other lake trout, and then going down low. But that's where you're going to catch them. It's not so much about where you're fishing at. It's more about how you're fishing for them. So if you want to catch bigger Lakers, you might have to change your technique. And I know a guy that can help you out. I did mention this earlier on in the live stream. I'm doing consultation trips now, so I've started doing them for this year. I'll do some more announcements on that. What that means is I come with you on your boat. I help you figure out your electronics, set up your rigs, that's your rods and your reels, and how you're tying your hooks and such, the finer tuning part of your systems. And I teach you how to run a wider spread. That's more rods out. That's more opportunities and more presentations. So I'm doing consultation trips to make you more successful on your boat. If that's something you're interested in, hit me up. Phone call, randallrydes.com. Just reach out to me. Let me know. All right. With that being said, I think we can jump down to James Creek now, right? I think so. Yeah, Matthew's got a point. Yeah, whenever the summer crowd gets down here, they kind of rip up the lake and then down the lake, and then they turn around and go back up the lake and go back down the lake, and it just turns into that. It's not something any of us enjoy, but I think ultimately what we do is we just find a cove to go back into and enjoy, or, we just decide that we'll tolerate it. Here's what you can do whenever the traffic gets really bad. Just adjust your fishing time. 6 o'clock is what I tell people. It's unfortunate. You've got to be off the water by 6, and then after 6 p.m., you can get back on the water. What it means really is you're just fishing overnight. At 6 p.m., everybody's hungry, and they get off the water. That's something, it's like a light switch, I'm telling you. 6 p.m., everybody's hungry, they leave. They go park their boat in the cove, they go back to the campground, or they just leave the lake altogether. 6 o'clock, you can get onto the water. Maybe come at 7 so the docks are a little bit calm for you. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., that lake is yours, even on busy weekends. So that's how you get around that. James Creek. Here we are at James Creek. All right. So if I'm going out, and I am tomorrow, I'm actually leaving out of James Creek. I think a lot of what I just talked to you about is what I'm going to be looking at. So here's H. You cannot use H. This ramp is shut down. But over here is James Creek. This is you saw in the dock updates. It looks good. When you pull out of James Creek, you're going to see Pee Wee's Island, this little island right here. As you come up to that, that would not be a terrible spot to go check out, and I'll tell you why. You have a couple things happening here around Pee Wee's, and I'm just thinking this on the fly too. I hadn't really pondered it until I just saw it just now, but we can use it for a good teaching aid, I guess. You have water coming in from two directions, so current flow is coming from the top down, and from the left in. So it's coming from both H and James Creek, and it's also coming from what we know back here as Party Cove. So it's water's coming in this way to feed the main channel out here. Right here's the main channel. Water flow, generally speaking, is coming down this way. So we're going to be looking for two things. We're looking for low energy spot. We're going to, two things I say. We're going to look for a couple things. We're going to look for sharp drop-offs, access to bait, so a little flat, and then areas that are protected or low energy flow states, because it's that time of year they just need low energy so they're not burning up the little bit of consumption they're doing whenever they eat. Pewee Island provides that. Now, I know because I've gone in here and looked that I've fished this area a lot. This side right here tends to be the side that holds the fish. I think that's simply because the current, the flow, most of it is out here around James Creek. And then the flow out here is just a little bit harder. It's moving more steady, I should say. It's not a hard flow or anything, but it's a steady flow. But this side seems to be the lower energy side. This flat holds your bait fish, and there's stuff they can hunt there. The smaller fish, like your yellow perch. It's a good spot to look for yellow perch. This is a good musky fishing area because of the access to these low energy spots that are, let's say it like this, even though it's a flat, and I'm thinking about a bait specifically, it's still got access to the deep water. So the bait are much like your predatorial fish. When they get cold, I'm not saying when they get cold, when they feed, they come up on the flats and then they drop back down in the deep. Even this time of year, you'll see that. Overnight, they'll come up and they'll work the flats, and then during the day, they'll get down real deep. Sometimes they're like 45, 50 feet, something like that. And I think that's what we're going to see here around James Creek. So, if I was coming in to work peewees, Pewee Island sticks out like a sore thumb. Everybody knows it. Everybody stops there with their dogs. Everybody uses it to go to the bathroom, and everybody illegally camps there. I don't recommend it for that reason. So stay away from Pewee. It's just it's properly named, we might say. Pewee Island and Potty Cove. So just stay away from it for those purposes. As far as fishing, though, we got a reason to be there. This side tends to be the low energy side, and what I would probably do is actually try to see if there's anything on the back side. What you have is two currents meeting, and it creates a little pocket in the back side of it that should be low energy. I would expect to find some fish held up right around in here, but they might be all the way around on this side as well. So I might even suggest that the active ones would be out here, and the ones that are just low energy and they're just kind of laying low for a while, the non-active, they're not feeding, they'd probably be held up back here. So Pewee Island would be a good one to check out. Hey, the best way to figure that out is to go out and hit them with the electronics. Drive by with side scan and see if anything's holding on the edge. And if they are, there's your confirmation. Let's see what else we can find around James Creek. If you have any questions, let me know now, because we're probably in the last 10 minutes or so of this live stream. So I know most of you have been here for quite a while watching the video. Thank you for sticking with it. We'll do more of these and maybe even more in depth, but any questions or direction you can give me for the live streams makes them better. It helps me to tailor them for exactly what we're thinking. Any questions you have, shoot them at me here before the end of the live stream. This would be a good spot back through here too. You guys know this, the bird, the observatory back here? I think maybe you're allowed, I'm not sure if they lifted the restrictions on this. You used to not be able to fish back through here. Someone might have told me they changed that they lifted restrictions. But nonetheless, this point right here, the one that I was actually interested in looking at, it is accessible. You are allowed to fish this, because the area that you're not, it's like back here somewhere. But this point is available to you. So this would be of interest to look at. Tight pinched. And I think what I would say is your flow. So I don't think there's anything to indicate which way would be a good spot for them, low flow or low energy side. I would just simply ride along this and check it with side scan. So that point would be a good spot to stop and look at and study. Let's go toward Trough Creek. How about I do this? I'll run over to Trough Creek now, and we'll make this our last check for the live stream, and then we'll shut it down. So if you guys have any questions, just shoot them at me here in the last, in the next, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. I'll try to address them, and then I'll wrap it up here at Trough Creek. Remember, the idea is when you go out to a lake as large as Lewistown is to narrow your vision. It's to narrow the possible things that you could do when you go out, because it's too big. You can't fish the whole lake. You can't throw every lure in the tackle box. A lot of guys, they'll take 15 tackle boxes, and of course, you know what happens. You throw the same 2 or 3 lures. It's because you already know that you're not going to have time to do it. We all wish we did, but such is life. So go out with a better plan. Make a big lake small. Do a little thinking. Use the link down below to follow the mapping program so that when you go out, you're not blind. You're thinking ahead. You've already got something in mind, something you want to do, something you can move toward when you get out there. So let's go look at Trough Creek, and then we'll wrap this live stream up, and we'll do more of these. So this is just one for the books, an extra long live stream just as an introduction to the mapping program and kind of reading it. All right, let's look specifically, let's pay attention to current. If we were doing just current alone and we were using that to narrow down kind of like where we want to look at, think about where the water is flowing here at Trough Creek. Trough Creek is feeding in toward the main stream, or the main channel. Of course, the main channel is feeding current this way. And then up here in the bay area here, this confluence, we have James Creek feeding in here. And then it continues on down the river. So generally speaking, this is your water flow. It's going this way. And then Trough Creek is coming out. So let's look at Trough Creek, and what I'm going to do is try to find low energy areas close to flats where they can still do some hunting, and then we're going to go feed them a lure, see if we can catch them up. So let's just start upstream. Ideal depths are about 35 to 45 feet, we'll say, and that carries us all the way out to right about here. So 35 to 45 feet all through this area right here. Okay, this is super shallow right here, but it's not out of the question to check this. This is only about 25 feet of water. This edge over here, if there's some, if you got some, say you got some woody debris over here, if you have submerged timber, something like that, this would not be a bad place to choose. I would say, generally speaking, the center of this run is where the highest current is going to be, and I don't think that would be great. But if I could find a down tree or submerged timber along this edge where it starts to drop off into about 40 feet of water, so right around in here, if I could find some trees or some down timber right around that depth and outside of the main channel, just right about that depth, and it's out of the main current, you'll find them holding to that woody debris, to those trees. So you could check that, but I'm not sold that this would be the best area to find them. It's just the depth is right, and if you can find some structure, they would be held on that. But I would say it's not ideal, but it's still worth looking. There's a possible. And guys, I could be totally wrong. You might get in there and they'll just be stacked like cordwood. So never, if you got a hunch, just go check it out. Let's look right here where these, you see what I'm seeing right here? We got a flat up here, a sharp contour change right here, and it's right about that right depth. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, I like this. I like this right here. I zoomed in a lot because you see how sharp they are. Look at this pinch point. Just God took his fingers, went and just squeezed those contour lines. What this means underwater is it just drops off. So it's coming down off that flat, and then it just goes, and then it's flat again. So what you got this cut like this, and so the fish can stay down here, and they just come up and they can hunt, and they can come right back. It's real low energy lifestyle. It's a way for them to stay fat all winter without having to put too much energy into it. I like this spot. I think this looks better right here. This is a good spot to hit. I might actually go look at this tomorrow. I like that. Right there where it's about 40 feet deep, and then it's got this whole flat for access. And this is a big area. It might not look like much on the map, but that's a big flat. They get to fish all that, and they can just come down and just drop off right there. The main energy flow is still going to be another 50 to 100 yards off. And if they stay close to that hard drop off, it's going to be low energy flow. It's a good spot to consider. I like that. Up here starts to get a little bit deeper for that drop off, so I don't think I'm too interested in that. You might check right here, almost opposite. So over here is where we were looking. I might come over here and check this edge here where it gets real tight. But I don't think that's great. It's a little bit deep. It's like 50 or so feet. Guys, walleye and other fish species will definitely hang in those areas, but it's not ideal. What I mean is you'll catch walleye in 60 or 70 feet of water. Yeah, they'll go way down there. So it's worth looking, but the temperature is probably going to be right around 40 feet deep right now. Anyways, over the winter, Lewistown Lake, kind of that's how it is. The winter fish kind of get down there around 40 feet, 45 feet. Usually not any deeper than that, though. It's usually right around that, except for Lakers. They go everywhere. Your bass will get down there around that depth, too. I don't know if you want to fish for bass. If you're not harvesting bass, you're probably going to hurt a lot of bass trying to pull them up from 45 feet, but they will absolutely be down there, 100%. There's a low energy area here on this secondary point, but it's really stretched out in the open. I would fish this for your higher in the column feeding fish, your striper and your catfish and such, but I don't think it's it wouldn't be my go-to. You know what? There's a cove over here, or better yet, let's do this. There's a cove here next to Nancy's, but it's pretty shallow. I don't think that's the spot. I do like the drop-off in front of Nancy's, though, so that'd be something to consider. I'll tell you what. Let me do this. I will give you guys a homework assignment. How about that? Here's your homework assignment, and you got nobody to hold you accountable except for you, because this is what you're going to do. This mapping program that we've been having fun with, playing around with tonight, you have access to it now because it's linked just below this video. It's right down in the About section. Click on it, open the mapping up, and then save it in your bookmarks so that you can come back and revisit it as often and anytime you want to. Here is your homework assignment. Your honey hole. I want you to go find it, and I want you to really analyze it using that mapping program, and I want you to make all the excuses on why it's good. I want you to dig into it and say, I know it's a good spot. I don't know why, but I know it's good. Every time I go there, it's a very consistent spot. I can put fish in the boat there. Why? I want you to go there and use this mapping and think about some of the stuff we talked about tonight and see how much of that applies to your honey hole. That's your homework assignment, and that's where I'm going to leave the live stream. No one's going to hold you accountable to that except for you. I want you to get to thinking about this lake like it's your home, and I want you to take ownership of the fish you're catching, harvesting, and releasing. This fishery's either going to grow or it's going to die, and it's going to be because of us. This community is going to be responsible for the future of this fishery, and it starts with that intellect part. We got to build up our minds. We got to learn some stuff, and here we are. We're doing it, guys. So I'm going to hang out for another maybe 5 minutes. If you guys have any questions, you just want to shoot the breeze, I'm here. I got no agenda other than this tonight, so I have some deer stew calling my name because I'm a little hungry. But other than that, I'm just hanging out with you guys. So, in closing, let me tell you guys, I really appreciate the support. You guys have been incredible for everything I'm doing. Not just here on YouTube either. I'm talking about the charter, the lure sales, just all the support, the friendship. I get a lot of text messages and phone calls from everybody, and it's just appreciated. I live a blessed life, and I know it, and you guys are the biggest part of that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, Rick, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. I'll be on the water tomorrow and Wednesday, and I'm going to be doing exactly what I talked to you guys about tonight. So till next week when we talk, I'll be able to report back and tell you what I saw, and with a little bit of luck, I'll have a few fillets in the freezer, and maybe even have another video to offer folks. I tried a video in the winter, but honestly, the batteries, they just die so fast. It's frustrating. So I need to work on that, get some new equipment and such. But ultimately, I'm just glad to be out there and be a part of this community. I think we're having a good time. I think we're having a very positive effect at Lewistown Lake, and I'm glad to be here. Guys, I'm going to let you go. Before you leave my live stream, just know that I'm available on Facebook. And if you go to randallrydes.com, you'll see everything Randall Rydes. That's everywhere I'll be the whole year, everything I got going on. I've got 4 events coming up this year. The first one is called the Lewistown Rendezvous. So find me on Facebook. Join us for that. We're going to get together and do some fishing. And just talk about fishing. It's a camp event. You get to stay overnight and stuff. So it's right in Entrican too, just about 5 minutes from the blinking light. So real close to James Creek. So it's called the Lewistown Rendezvous. That's going to be the first one. Why don't I just bring that up for you and show it, and we'll let that be the end of the live stream. So if you go to Randall Rydes and you go to the events. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Events. I'm having trouble finding my stuff. There we go. I had to make the screen big to get it. My events. Here you go. Here's the 4 events that are going on. Lewistown Rendezvous is the first one, and that is April 10th. And the other ones are the public events are the bank angling event, paddling and bassin', that's a kayaking event, and then fishing and chilling is way out in November. But the next one that's coming up is right there, the Lewistown Rendezvous. Everybody should come to that. It's right in Entrican, and it's on April 10th through the 12th. Hopefully you guys can all make that. It'll be a good time, I think. I hear that. Few more days of hunting. My goodness. You're gonna finish up with hunting just in time to cut holes in the ice. I don't know. I might go out one day and do something, maybe jig up a few crappie, but that's a crazy way to fish. I mean, it's gonna be chilly tomorrow, but it's not ice, You watch, I'll get out there. There's going to be like 2 inches of ice on the lake. Better not be. I got high hopes. All right. I guess I'm going to shut it down. I think we did pretty good. We covered a lot of ground. And offered up a, little mapping program for everybody to use. But, 6 inches, yeah, probably a good idea. The 4-inch ice roll is okay if you're just walking on it, but I can't imagine how comfortable you would feel out there, because it's 4 inches in one spot, and you go 50 yards, and now it's only 2 inches. I just don't think it's a good idea. But I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. I appreciate you checking in for the live stream. RandallRydes.com for everything. Order some lures or book a trip. My phone number's on there as well, so you guys can reach out to me, text or call. If you have any questions, if you get stranded on the water, make sure you have that number in your phone. And that's it. Till next week, we're going to do these Mondays at 8 p.m. And we're going to do them, while it's cold out. I haven't committed to any specific amount of time, just Mondays, 8 p.m. And I hope to see you there. All right, guys. That's it. That's the end of the live stream. If you missed it, go back and start it from the beginning. YouTube saves it, so you didn't miss anything. So I appreciate you guys checking in with me tonight. Have a great night. Much love and much respect. See ya. I will let you know, Rick. You know I will.